Trucker Dump, episode 128. In today's show, I found a really cool gift idea for truckers, and of course, I found a few articles I want to talk about. One's about a truck crash, one's about emission standards, and one's about a new hours of service bill that came out. In Trucker Grub, driver Chris Mack is back to tell us about another cool spot he eats at. And in the main topic, we'll talk to Ben about the Mother's Day truck convoy. In the feedback section, Aaron and Greg both have something to say about CR England, and Jeff, Trucker Bob, Steven, and the best trucker alive, yes, that's what he calls himself, they all want to talk about reserved truck parking. Today's podcast is sponsored by the Escort from Citadel Fleet Safety. You can learn more at citadelfleet.com. And East Insurance Group, which you can find at eastinsuranceGroup.com/truckerdump. And we've got a nice, long, believe it or not, non-boring talk about truck insurance with Dave from East Insurance Group. Well, it's going to be a busy show. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Trucker Dump, where you'll get one driver's insights and sometimes humorous views of truck driving and the trucking industry, and pretty much anything else he feels like dumping on you. This podcast is brought to you by AboutTruckDriving.com. Resources to help you understand the world of truck driving through the use of stories and a pathetic attempt at humor.
Hey, Trucker Dumpers. How's it going out there? Welcome back to another episode of Trucker Dump. For those of you who do not know who the heck I am, well, I'm your dorky podcast host. My name is Todd McCann. I am a 20-year trucker. I'm the author of 2 trucking ebooks. You can check those both out on abouttruckdriving.com. And in case you hadn't figured it out from past episodes, well, I could easily be voted the world's least likely to get in a fist fight. All right, here's where that came from. Yesterday, I pull into a truck stop in Nevada, Missouri last night. Nevada, whatever, patata. Anyway, I pull in, and there is this Stevens transport truck sitting there. He's parked kind of across a row in front of trucks, and I just can't figure out what he's doing. He's got his flashers on, and I think, okay, he's trying to back into a spot or something. Didn't know. So I sat behind him, gave him plenty of space like you're supposed to do. Take a lesson from that, truckers. Leave the guy some space. Anyway, I sat there for probably 2 or 3 minutes just wondering what he was doing, and he hadn't moved. I scooted back a little bit more, thinking maybe he thought I was crowding him, which I wasn't. But anyway, finally I picked up the dreaded CB, and you guys know me. Like I say, anybody who has listened to this podcast, you know I'm very non-confrontational. So I just got on the CB and I said, "Hey, Stevens, what are we doing up here?" That's exactly how I said it. Well, he said something to the order of, "Whatever the F I feel like doing." All I could say was, "Really?" And of course he responded, "Yeah, you got a problem with that?" Now me, I reach out to the general public and I said, "Hey, did anyone hear me be confrontational here?" And some random driver pops in and he goes, "Nope, don't worry about it, driver." He's probably just pissed because he works at Stevens Transport, which honestly I laughed at. I couldn't help myself. I went on and just got back on the CB and said, "Hey, I was just wondering why you were sitting up there, but I see now that you're waiting on that other driver to pull out. You could have just said so when I asked, you know." To which he brilliantly responded with something like, "Why don't you mind your own effing business? I'll kick your ass." Me, being non-confrontational, said something to the effect of, "What is wrong with this guy?" And the other guy jumped in again and he said, "Hey, I'll take you up on that. I bet you're a big female body part." Well, he didn't say that, but you get the gist. He says, "I'm watching you park, man. Just step out of the truck and I'll have a go at you." To which Stevens gives us complete radio silence. And of course the random driver popped in and said, "Yeah, that's what I thought. Big talker." And for the record, this a-hole Stevens Transport guy did watch me park. He knows who I am. He knows who I drive for. If he really wanted to do anything, he could have come over to my truck and tried it, I guess. I didn't see him. I don't know if he was big. I don't know if he's small. I just know that I'm a non-confrontational guy. I don't see any point in fighting. I don't see any point in a lot of this stupid crap that truckers get into. But anyway, that's why I opened up the show with that little tidbit about myself. By the way, it really makes the evil overlord grumpy when she's trying to get me riled up about something, and it's just really hard to do. It's my own evil way to deal with her. So anyway, I hope everything is going better for you than it did for me last night. Anyway, I'm sitting here on a 34-hour break, so I've got time to podcast, so that's at least something good from sitting. I hope I do okay today. I feel like if my words come out a little slurry or whatever, I'm going to blame it on the peanut butter and jelly sandwich I just had. For you traditionalists, it probably might make you angry that I ate it with red raspberry jelly. And actually, that was a fresh jar. I just finished a can of blueberry preserves on my can. You don't buy preserves in a can. Jar. A jar of blueberry preserves. But you know, the thing is, when you eat as much peanut butter and jelly as I do, because I'm a cheapskate, you like to experiment with different kinds of jelly. Grape and strawberry are for wussies. Come on. Have some imagination out there. Anyway, if my words stick together, I'm blaming it on the peanut butter. Maybe we'll get some good bloopers out of today. Who knows? Oh, heck. I already know. I already have one coming. I already filed it away for later. Anyway, I would like to issue a correction. Somebody corrected me last time. I think it was Aaron in the Slack group, in the Trucker Dump Slack group. You can join that by emailing truckerdump@gmail.com. Come on and be one of the cool kids like Brandon, who goes by the name Bam Bam 757. He just joined the group the other day. Haven't heard a lot out of him yet, but we're waiting, Brandon. Anyway, jump right in. Okay, where was I? Rambling, of course. That's where I was. Anyway, I was saying there was a correction. I think last time I was, in the last episode, I was comparing my Kenworth to my ProStar. Problem is, I don't have a ProStar. I thought I had a ProStar, but I don't have a ProStar. Actually, a rookie. Well, he's fairly rookie. He's got about a years of experience, but apparently knows more about the trucking industry than I do already. Aaron over there in the Slack group told me, I don't think you have a ProStar. I think you have an LT. And I was like, well, the LT is the ProStar. It's a ProStar LT. But I was wrong. Of course, I'm always wrong about things. It is just called an LT. I had no idea. It looks like the ProStar. So, hey, that's what I'm blaming it on. Anyway, just wanted to get that straight. I didn't hear from anybody else about it, so maybe nobody else knew. But just in case you were getting ready to fire out that email to correct me, well, you can just save it. All right, let's get on with these things that I found on the web. First, I'm going to mention a company. It's the John H. Martin Company. They sell pewter truck models and plaques and keychains and little gadgets like that. I wouldn't call them gadgets, actually. These are some high-quality devices. By the way, this is not a sponsor. Just something I found cool on the web. But anyway, they're really marketing at trucking companies and like for awards ceremonies and stuff like that. Instead of giving a jacket or a hat or something, you know, that everybody gives, get them this cool pewter truck. And these things are really detailed. I was looking, you go to their website. Here's a link in the show notes. The URL is kind of confusing, but I'm going to give it to you real fast. It's jhmco.us/trucking_awards_gifts.html. Yeah, just use the link in the show notes. And for those of you who don't know, I always put the show notes at the bottom of the blog post on abouttruckdriving.com too. So if you listen on the website, all the links are right at the bottom of this post. But anyway, as I was saying, if you go to that link and look at some of the close-up shots of these models, they are really, really detailed. And I was just shocked. I didn't even know you could do that with pewter. But then again, I'm no metal dude. So, well, I am a metal dude. Rock on. But not that kind of metal dude. So anyway, these are kind of pricey gifts, but you know, truckers like trucks. So if you've got a trucker in your life that you want to get a cool gift for, go check these out. Maybe they'd like them. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know, but it's something to consider. Anyway, again, this is John H. Martin Company, and go to the link in the show notes and check them out. All right, this next story is just kind of disturbing, really. I found this, of course, off the truckersreport.com, which I get pretty much all my news from. Thank you, Truckers Report. Appreciate that. Anyway, this is about a story of a guy who killed 6 people, a driver. He was on I-75 in Tennessee, and the word is he the thing they discovered is he actually never hit his brakes. He went 453 feet before coming to a complete stop. Now, out of that, he was just sentenced and he got 55 years in prison. That was reduced. I think it was supposed to be like 83 with all the charges combined, but they actually, some of those, the way it works, some of the sentences go together or whatever and they overlap. So it's going to be 55 years in prison. This is for a trucker doing his job. Okay, now here's the thing. It was drug related. He had methamphetamines in his system. Now, I'm not going to say don't do drugs because you guys know you shouldn't be doing drugs. And I trust that anybody listening to the Trucker Dump podcast is smart enough to know that. But the reason I wanted to mention this story is because this could happen to any of us, even those who aren't on drugs. Like when we're on our phones for long periods of time going down the road, or we're jerking around with the radio too much, or just any distraction. You know, I can remember a time when I was stupid and I actually got up out of my seat, held onto my steering wheel, and reached back into the bunk to grab something off my bunk while I'm going down the road. It would have taken me 2 minutes to pull over the side of the road. We're just so stupid sometimes. Truckers are pissing in jars going down the road. That's a distraction. All this could lead to, look at that, a 55-year sentence. Plus, you'd have piss all over yourself, and how cool would that be? So anyway, this is just a friendly reminder to all of us, including myself, that we really should be paying attention to the road while we're driving and try to take our distractions away from us. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox on that. But you know what? I'm going to jump on another soapbox because this next story is about the California Air Resources Board, or the people we love to know as CARB. Oh, I hate these people. Anyway, they've got some new emission standards out. If people don't know out there, CARB usually starts things and everyone else follows. Personally, I don't know why anyone would want to follow anything California does, but that's the way it seems to work, especially with green stuff like emissions. And they have set their new standards. So here they are. Get this. By January 1st of 2020, they are saying they will not register. You cannot register a truck in California if it's older than 2011 model, or if it's powered by a 2010, it's got to be powered by a 2010 or newer engine. Now, this just seems crazy to me because trucks run forever. And as anyone knows, you know, all this emissions crap is what's causing a lot of these mechanical issues and a lot of these breakdown issues. So lots of drivers are going to be pretty pissed about this. I don't blame them. I mean, I don't care. I drive a company truck, but owner-operator, I'd be pissed. But here's the deeper thing that I just do not get, and I can't get my head around it. Emissions, it's a worldwide thing, right? I mean, emissions are causing the hole in the ozone. That infects the entire world, not just California, not just the United States. So where do they think these 2011 or 2010 and older trucks are going to go? Do they think they're just going to quit being used? No, of course not. They're going to be sold overseas somewhere where they can get use out of them over there. Now, granted, I guess there is a benefit of that because maybe they'll trash some of those ancient vehicles that they're using in some of these third world countries and stuff, and they'll get nicer trucks. But still, I just don't get it. But it's California, so I don't expect to really get it. Does anyone really get California? Oh, why do you people live there? I don't understand it. I don't even like to go there anymore, and thank God I don't have to. All right, and for the last story of the day, well, actually, yeah, that's the last story of the day. But you know what? I got this off truckersreport.com just like I did the last story. Anyway, this one's called a new hours of service bill would give drivers a pause button. Okay, what's happening here is this new bill has been introduced to Congress that has a special stipulation in it where it's going to do away with a 30-minute break, which I think every trucker would love. We all hate that stupid thing. But what it's going to do is it's going to give us a pause button, which will allow us to put a hold on our 14-hour clock for up to 3 hours. Now, I think that's pretty darn cool. Basically, that would give us 17 hours. Now, you don't have to use it every day, but you can use it. That's the beauty of it. The name of this bill is called the Responsible and Effective Standards for Truckers, which, of course, they have a cute acronym, REST. Isn't that neat? So anyway, I just hope this thing goes through because, man, this would free up a lot. I mean, most truckers, when they get stuck at a shipper or receiver, if it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be maybe 4 or 5 hours, maybe. For a long time. I mean, there are times, of course, where we all been stuck at a shipper for 12 hours or something like that. But I think the norm is generally, somewhere 4 to 5 hours or less, 45 hours on a really bad day. And this would pretty much take care of that because, the 14 hours already gives you the three hours leeway, and then you get 3 more. I think that would pretty well take care of that, where we drivers wouldn't be screwed out of our hours. Now, it would make for a really long day if that happens, 17 hours, but I don't think us truckers would have much of a problem with that, honestly. We're pretty macho, studly dudes. And chicks. Sorry, ladies. I'm sorry. Is chicks a politically incorrect thing to say now? I don't know. It's kind of a joke in my family. I call all the girls, like when I see a nice looking young lady when I'm around my nephews, I say, "Hey, look at that chickie baby." So I just say chick all the time. I call the evil overlord a chick. I apologize if that offends. Write me in and tell me if it does. truckerdump@gmail.com. Okay, well, I just hope this thing goes through. I don't know when it will go through. Of course, it was just promoted up to Congress, so God knows how long it'll take them to act on anything. But we can hope, we can pray, and if there is ever like a thing where they take comments from truckers, if I hear about it, I will let you know. If I don't hear about it and you hear about it first, let me know about it so I can tell everybody. I'll put up a blog post on the website since I only put up one podcast every month. But I can put up a quick blog post in between, let everybody know. And hopefully we can get this thing going because, man, I would love that extra time. All right, before we moved on, I just listened back to some of the stuff I just did, and I hear thumps and scrapes and all kinds of stuff going on there. I figured out that my foot was hitting the microphone stand. My headphone cable was smacking the microphone stand. Here I am, a stickler for audio, and yet, well, look at what you get. Anyway, I think I've corrected the problem. Sorry about that if it was banging your eardrums. Anyway, what do we got next? Okay. This is one of the sponsored interviews. My idea was to keep these down to about 20 minutes, make them educational and informative and not just a big sales pitch. Okay. Well, this one went on for the conversation went on for an hour and I edited it down to 45 minutes. But please don't turn it off. It's not a big ad spot. It's really not. I learned stuff about insurance that I didn't know, and I'm sure you're going to learn something from this too. So please give this a chance. I think you're really going to enjoy it. It was not what I was expecting at all, but I was very happy with the results. Oh, and I should mention that you may notice every now and then that there's a weird, change in subject matter a little bit. Well, sorry about this. We had some technical issues and we had some interruptions during the Skype call. There's even some weird effects going on in the Skype call. They cannot be helped. I pieced it together the best I could, and I think it came out pretty well nonetheless. But anyway, just wanted to let you know about that in advance. All right, let's get on with it. All right, we've got Dave Meltzer on the show. He's from East Insurance Group, which you guys are well aware of, is a sponsor of the podcast. He is a principal there. Okay, Dave, what is a principal? I don't understand it. Do I get sent to the office and I have to see you? Is that what happens here?
You get suspended.
Oh, okay. You suspend me from my job?
A principal? I don't know. We have all these people in our office who are called principal, and pretty much we just tell each other what to do, and we don't listen.
Nice. Sounds like truckers. Okay. So, East Insurance Group, just tell us a little bit about the company itself and how you got started in the business.
East Insurance Group. Hi, everybody. East Insurance Group is what we call an independent insurance agency. It means we're not linked to any one company. And we opened our doors in 2012. I don't know. We sell a lot of insurance. We're based in Maryland. We write insurance in 10 different states. And we can help people with advice, and we help people get the insurance they need. Insurance is not super interesting, but it's something everyone has to have. So we try to make it as painless as we can. And sometimes we succeed at that. And we're okay, guys.
Yeah, no, I've often wondered, of course, anytime you want to say something's boring, you might say something like, I'd rather go to an insurance meeting or something like that. You guys aren't always perceived in the most excited lives. You know what I mean? So what made you decide to become an agent?
Well, there was a need, and there aren't a lot of younger people in insurance. It's an older by demographic, sort of like trucking. There aren't a lot of young truckers, and
that's true. Yeah.
Actually, the insurance industry creates part of that gap, because a trucker can get his license when he's 18, but insurance companies mostly won't insure young drivers until they're 25. So a lot of, unless it's a family firm, and I talk really nicely to the underwriter, and I catch her on a good day, and she's willing to take a risk, and the kid has a perfect driving record and good grades in school. So the industry, you guys, it's almost like the insurance industry is hurting the trucking industry in that way. It's not the agents like me, it's the insurance carriers. But that's actually a real challenge that happens. So in the insurance industry, most of the guys doing it and ladies doing it are old. So there was just a gap. And you know what? It's important work. We help a lot of people. We help people when they have claims. And we help people, we help people stay in business. If you're in trucking, you need your certs. That's a good example. You need your certs, and you need them fast, and you need them pain free. And we found competitors who charge people for certs. We found that people can't get certifications for their vendors, or their customers rather, without waiting for many days. And people can't stay in business like that. So it's important work, because we're helping people with their livelihood.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's why insurance is an attractive thing to do, even if it's like eating cement. It's so boring, dry cement.
Yeah. So this our certification is just the thing stating that you have insurance that truckers need to be able to prove they have insurance.
Right.
Is that what you're talking
right.
about?
We give them to RMIS and other distributors like that who send truckers out with loads. And we do that a lot.
Yeah.
We sometimes do it 40, 50 times a day for our customers, because they're constantly either they've got a job from someone who they didn't have a job with before, or the file got lost, or we made a change to the insurance, or they got a new truck, or 20 different reasons why people's customers want proof of their insurance. They're landing more contracts. They're growing their trucking firm. An insurance guy with trucking people, it's a pretty close working relationship. If you think about it with your home and auto, how often do you really call your insurance agent?
Yeah,
but if
never.
Right, once a year. If you're in the trucking business, you're either the kind of trucker who needs to be on the phone with your insurance agent all the time, or just some of the time, but certainly more than what you might with your personal needs.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time I talked to my insurance agent. Actually, I can, because I mentioned it in your last ad spot last month that my insurance just happened to call me out of the blue and say, hey, we started doing these yearly checks just to see if we can get you a better rate on stuff. And they got me like a $200 discount. So I was happy to hear from her. But other than that, you never really, it's just something you never really think about until you need it. That's for sure.
Well, that's really good that she called you to do that. We do it. We do that also. We review every account 60 days prior to renewal, but we try to talk to our truckers a little more often, because frankly, truckers buy new trucks and forget to tell us, especially when they pay cash for them.
Really?
And they just drive off the lot or buy it from a buddy. Yeah, we have it all the time. We get a call. We called some guy up. How you doing? And oh yeah, well, don't forget to add pick a truck.
Wow.
I got a new dump truck. I got a new tractor unit. I got a new F450. And you're like, oh, when were you planning to tell us? I'm like, oh, I didn't.
And you want us to cover this without telling anyone. Yeah.
Well, people are busy. Another thing that happens is so truckers sometimes work independently and are, they're a mom and pop, but sometimes they add drivers. I guess the money in trucking is keeping that vehicle, and it also depends on what kind of trucking you're doing. But, you've got a monthly payment on your truck. The more hours you can have it on the road, the better, but you're limited to how many hours you can drive, so you get other drivers.
Right.
Well, people forget to add those drivers to their policy, and then they get pulled over for something, or they're in a weigh station or something like that. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, where's my proof of insurance?
Yeah, that's, I can see that's not good at all.
Right. So that happens a lot in our industry. So we try hard to talk with our trucking clients more than some of our other clients because they're constantly changing and they're not at a desk. So they don't have time to think about all these things.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Hey, you mentioned earlier that you are an independent insurance agent now, or an agency. I would just like to recommend to people out there listening, if you are going with one of these big companies that you just went straight to the dealer, you're probably making a big mistake, because every time I've tried to do that, they're way overpriced. And in my experience, you just your best move is to go to an independent agent because they can shop that around.
Well, it's more than shopping around. They help you. I appreciate the plug, by the way, but it's more than that. They can help you choose what's really right coverage for you. And sometimes you need more coverage and sometimes you need less coverage. But if you're a truck driver, then it's not your business to know what insurance you need. You're just not, you just like, you don't pull your own tooth out.
Right.
You go to a dentist. You need a professional to guide you, especially when insurance is such an important part of your business. And then when do you need that agent more? You need that agent independent of the company more when you suddenly got a claim and you need someone to advise you about how to manage the claim, or you need someone to help you decide whether or not you should make the claim.
Yeah.
Because if you make a bunch of $3,000 claims, they'll cover it, but then you're going to suddenly see your premium double and you're not going to know what hit you. The insurance industry right now is in a great deal of flux, and the prices for insurance, especially for trucks, is going through the roof.
Is it?
We had a crisis. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Why is that?
So everyone, well,
that's
everyone
a question,
has too many accidents. Everyone has too many accidents, and the more sophisticated our trucks and our other equipment becomes, the more expensive it is to put it back together after it's been hit.
Well, that's surprising to me, because all the stats show over many, many years that trucking accidents have just keep going down and down and down. And the industry in itself just keeps getting safer. So that surprises me.
Yeah.
Did I stump
but
you?
It's still how it is. Different guys do different businesses, but if you were an auto hauler, we had a crisis in summer of 2016. And in the state of New York, truck insurance companies stopped writing insurance, and they stopped as a group, and they stopped renewing their insurance for people who are auto haulers and towing. We had a company call us from Aniata, New York, with 33 trucks. And they found us, and they were in a crisis mode because their insurance agent called them up and said, "I'm sorry, I've been trying hard to get you new insurance, and I can't." And if you're in that business, you know that your contracts are state contracts, and you have to have all your insurance ducks in a row, like depending on the state, 30 days before the end of the year or 2 weeks before the end of the year. And if you don't have it as of the first of the year, you don't have a contract.
Oh. So
these people running 33 trucks. Imagine running 33 trucks 24/7. That's 70 or 80 drivers who work for them, and a bookkeeping staff and office man. I mean, that's a lot of people's jobs on the line.
Right. Yeah.
And they couldn't get insurance.
Huh.
I had another lady call me. They had insurance with the same company for 7 years. Her husband was driving the truck. They got into an accident. She tried to explain that it's not his fault. Personally, I looked at the accident. I thought it was his fault, but it wasn't. It really isn't relevant whose fault it was. The insurance company decided not to renew them because of the size of the claim they paid out. Their insurance was $17,000 a year, and the claim they paid was $53,000.
Wow!
And they decided the customer wasn't profitable.
Yeah, that's sad.
Well, it's more than sad. It's like, this is this family's livelihood. What the heck are they going to do?
Yeah.
So insurance companies are weird, and they just keep raising their premiums because they're looking at the whole sector as being a big risk.
They control so much in the trucking industry, probably other industries too, obviously, but in the trucking industry, I don't think companies necessarily limit our trucks to 65 mile an hour speed limit, governed at 65 mile an hour just because they feel it's safer. They might, but I think the bigger issue behind it is that they get better rates from the insurance companies for doing stuff like that.
I got to think about how that question should be answered.
Okay. Did I put you on the spot?
I think that companies are going to always mandate that you have to follow the strict letter of the law as a contractor or as an employee. because they don't want the trickle up liability that goes along with anything that goes wrong.
What are you talking about, like speed limits wise?
Yeah, let's say somebody's going, and let's say they say to you, you must drive, Todd, you may not drive over 65 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And the truck driver goes out and he's doing 75, which is a reasonable speed given the pace of traffic and what's on the road. And he's a professional, right? He's been driving for 15 years. The guy knows his stuff.
Right.
Right. And so he knows when it's safe to drive 75. And then there's an accident. Well, if the company had not specifically put a mandate on that driver to drive 65, then the person who was in the accident with the truck might turn around and sue the company and say, hey, you did not regulate the safety of your drivers. Because lawyers always look for the money.
Yeah.
In New York State, I don't know, I keep going back to New York. New York's a place that has a lot of insurance issues.
Because they stink.
So,
no trucker likes to go to New York.
So, well, in New York, let's talk about a different kind of insurance called workman's compensation insurance, which I'm sure everyone has heard of. Workman's compensation insurance is something that a company, an employer gets to protect employees who get hurt on a job.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I'm a house builder and I hire Larry's Carpenter Company to come in and put in my kitchen cabinets. And one of Larry's guys gets hurt on the job. You would think that he would only be able to sue Larry. But in fact, he can also sue me in New York State. Not so in other states. So there's a trickle up concept where that trucking company that for whom our trucker, who's an independent contractor, works, you would think that the buck stops at the trucker's desk.
Yeah.
But it does. So that's why they have to make rules like that for the truckers to follow, whether or not the truckers do. Because if the trucker didn't, then they can say, hey, the trucker's negligent. We insisted on a certain level of safety compliance. We have the highest standard. But those are the types of things that get factored into insurance rate. And then the other thing to remember is even if accidents are down, thank God, and the roads are safer in principle, into each accident, even if there are few of them, costs more to fix.
Yeah. Well, I kind of understand what you're saying about, them, like a company, if they say you can't go faster than 65 and the guy does 75, that's if the guy doesn't have a governor on his truck. But that's what I was saying was that, like a lot of these trucking companies, they set their speeds at 65 mile an hour. And if you want to go any faster than that, you need to be rolling down a great big hill. And I've just always wondered why they do that when, there's like you say, lots of states out there that are 75. The heck, there's some spots out in Utah that you can go 80 and 85 in Texas, but here I'm tooling along at, well, my company's like 64 mile an hour. So, right. It's just always made me wonder.
It must be very frustrating for truckers to sit there and watch everyone whiz past them and around them.
Well, you get used to it after 20 years of driving a company truck, I can tell you that. But yeah, it is still a little frustrating, especially when you just need to get around somebody just a little bit quicker and they're being stubborn and won't help you,
Oh, man.
But that's trucking.
Over here in the Northeast, we have roads like the New Jersey Turnpike where truckers can't go in the left lane. You are patient people.
Yeah. That's what California's like that too. Lots of places around the country, like just in rural areas, they just don't, or not rural, in urban areas, they won't allow you in the left-hand lane. It's kind of defeats the purpose in my point, because if all the trucks are crowding the right lane, isn't that a problem with on-ramps and off-ramps? I don't know.
I suppose.
Yeah,
I actually, if I have a chance to say a few things to truckers about insurance, I'd like to say them now if I could.
Go ahead.
Like speeding ahead. Okay, especially guys and ladies, when you are adding truck driver employees, please, 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 for the health of your company and your own good, have strict laws, not laws, that's not the right word, strict rules in your company, policies about certain things. Your driver may not go out without his or her license in their pocket, without proof of insurance or registration for the truck. Mm-hmm. They must do a walk around of the vehicle and make sure that every light works. They must make sure their brakes work. They must make sure their tire pressure is correct. They must make sure that when they drive, even if it's to move the vehicle 100 feet, that they put on their safety belt. I'm telling you, I have a guy who's paying an extra $17,000 a year because he moved his truck on a highway 100 feet from the shoulder to the shoulder on the same lane of the highway, 100 feet, and he did not put on his safety belt.
Oh, my God. That seems unreal, but it doesn't surprise me.
Serious money.
Yeah, it is.
So please, you must, I'm sure you do this yourselves, you must enforce this with your people. The number of stops you have on the vehicle affects your insurance rating, whether or not they affect you as a driver. So when you have multiple drivers on your trucks, they can kill your insurance rate even when you fire them because they did not manage your trucks safely and the underwriters know. The underwriters know who you are. They know every single one of you. They know when you worked with a buddy. They know when you piggybacked onto your friend's insurance policy for 6 months because you didn't have your DOT number yet. They know. And we talk to them and they know. And they'll say, oh, that guy, he has this guy. We just had a truck bounced. They're not non-renewed, they call it, which means they let the insurance finish the policy, but they won't give them insurance again. Yeah. The lady said, he owns 3 other trucks that aren't on this policy. I said, how do you know? She said, well, look, go onto Safer and look up this one and this one and this one. And darned if they aren't all the same mailing address. Huh. So he's got the same drivers driving multiple trucks for multiple companies, but he's not insuring them all with this company. They want to insure all the trucks. And then the truth is that of this particular fellow, of those 4 trucks, 2 are not insured.
Imagine that, a trucker trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. I would never guess that in a million years.
Well, we're all wholesome and decent and pleasant people.
We're used to paper logs, so we've been doing that for years, up until just recently.
Well, this is what insurance underwriters deal with, and this is what's affecting everybody's insurance premiums all the time. So that's why premiums are going up. And so please take seriously with your employee drivers, especially safety protocols and pre-travel checks, safety checks, like I said. Now, other thing that I would want to say to you is most truck insurance carriers aren't computerized. If you call up somebody to buy your homeowners or your auto insurance, then we just feed it into a computer and literally within 2 minutes, we have a policy for you. Mm-hmm. Some truck insurers are taking as long as 2.5 months now to give a quote for new insurance.
Good Lord.
So if you want to have more options, you need to give more time before the end of your policy to start working on it.
Yeah. Or just call East Insurance Group.
Or call East Insurance Group, 443-629-4111.
How's that for a segue?
I guess those were the things I really wanted to tell everybody because I think they're the things that aren't really known. You don't need to hear about, well, you need general liability insurance because you know that.
Yeah. No, that's what I wanted to get out of this interview. No, I just didn't want to come on and just say, 8,000 times, hey, go to East Insurance Group and get your insurance. I wanted it to be informational. So we're covering that basis. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Yeah. So, hey, let's discuss just a little bit more about the truck insurance. Is it like car insurance for those of us who don't know, as company drivers who've never bought it? Is it just like car insurance, basically? Is it just as simple as, liability, comprehensive, and those type of things, or is there a lot more to it?
Well, there's insurance for when you're a bobtail that's different than when you're pulling someone else's trailer.
Okay.
There's insurance for interchange when you're dropping off and picking up a trailer or changing out your motor unit. There's insurance for your cargo. There's special insurance for your refrigerated cargo. There's special workman's compensation insurance for employee drivers. That's different than other kinds of workman's compensation insurance. So truckers need more kinds of insurance than a regular home and auto.
So I guess that would be a yes then.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot. It sounds like, it would have never dawned on me that you need special insurance to just for swapping out, a truck and trailer or whatever. Yeah.
A lot of damage happens then. Yeah. Trailers get banged up. Trailers get tipped over.
That makes sense.
Doors get open. Merchandise falls off. Brake cables, they forget to connect them. Little things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just did one of those not too long ago. I left my red airline attached and just yanked it right off. And I've been driving for 20 years, it's just stuff like this happens. Anything you get out of your routine is when I usually find you screw something up. So,
Okay, so
Right.
since you admitted about your line, I'll tell you, I was in 3 car accidents this year, and 2 of them were not my fault.
Sure.
No, right. So what happened? So the first one, which was my fault. So the first one, nothing happened to my premium at all, and I had no trouble getting renewed. But the next two, even though they weren't my fault, and the other side accepted responsibility in both cases, they took away my good driver discount.
Ugh.
So on my auto insurance, that was like a $575 a year discount.
Wow.
So yeah, too many claims are bad, even if they're not your fault. So if you can be judicious in making claims, and then do that. And if you can't, sometimes you just have to make the claim.
Yeah.
That's just how life goes.
Yeah. If you
So,
can't afford it, you can't afford $700, just need to go ahead and file.
well, truck deductibles are higher, and I don't know. I think I'm talking about claims of 1,000 or two.
Yeah.
It depends on what they are. Sometimes it just pays to just settle them up and move on, because truck insurers in particular are very fickle right now. They aren't interested in your loyalty. It doesn't move them. When you say, I've been with you for 17 years, they're like,
Yeah.
They just it's not what it should be, and I don't know that that's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah.
And sometimes you say to them, well, hey, you have my business, and without me, you wouldn't be in business because I'm your customer. And they don't. So there are some insurance companies that actually want less business.
Really?
Because insurance is about risk, right? It's gambling.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense, I
So
guess.
sometimes you'd rather have less bets out there.
Yeah. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right. That makes total sense.
So, that's what happens. But when you're a trucker and you're just trying to be in business, and insurance is such an integral part of what you do, you're looking for team players. So that really happens at the agency level, like me, East Insurance Group. But the truth is that whoever your agent is, that's what that agent needs to be for you, is your ally. If your agent isn't calling you up and saying, hey, you're with I don't know, I probably can't name companies right now, but you're with company X, and I'm not sure that they're going to renew you. So I wanted to let you know that I'm putting you out, I'm putting you out to bid for different quotes, or, they haven't been paying people. They're not easy to work with on claims.
Yeah.
Another area of expertise, which has nothing to do with what y'all do with necessarily, is we write a lot of insurance for real estate investors. A lot.
Huh.
And we were giving people, when people have a property that's vacant, it's a different kind of insurance policy than a property that's occupied either by a tenant or a homeowner or a business owner. So we do a lot of this vacant property. So we were writing it with a company, and then we found out we had customers who started having issues with claims. The properties were getting broken into, and the insurers aren't covering the claims because they don't want to pay for theft. So we're good agents. So we called up our customers and said, hey, we've discovered a problem. These people aren't covering their theft claims. We need to move you to another company.
And that's the beauty of, the independent, right? Because you can just move somebody from one policy to another whereas like if you had just gone to Allstate or whatever, they're just going to say, well, sorry, can't help you. And then you're just screwed, right?
Mike, my partner, and I used to own a chain of Allstates, and that's exactly what it was.
Oh, okay.
There was nothing we could do for you. That was with your home or your auto. You either took it our way or you didn't take it.
Yeah.
And that's not what people who are in business for themselves need. People who are in business for themselves need options, and they need advocacy, and they need a friend. they need a sounding board. They need an expert. And guys in a captive agency or guys who work for the insurance carrier, they can't help you. You can't call Geico and say, hey, I need to know if I should make this claim or not. As soon as you call, they put up a claim.
Oh, yeah. Plus, you're always dealing with somebody different there.
Right. There's no relationship.
Right. None whatsoever.
So anyway, so as boring as insurance is, I hope that those things have interested you. If you want to hear something funny about insurance, you want to hear funny trivia about insurance?
Sure.
I'm sure everyone has heard of Lloyd's of London.
Yeah.
It's famous Lloyd's of London. Yeah. Well, but Lloyd's of London insures stuff all over the world. And Lloyd's was a bar. Lloyd's was a bar on the wharf in London, and these guys would sit there all day and drink, and then they would take like bets on ships coming in and out, whether or not they'd sink.
I'll be darned.
And they wrote it on a chalkboard, and then different people say, okay, yeah, I'll cover him. you know.
Yeah.
And so insurance really is gambling.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of guys. And now ladies, Lloyd's actually, I understand, there's a lot of ladies now, but they're all still sitting around the bar drinking, and that's what they do all day.
Nice. Well, too bad you can't get away with that in the States.
Oh, they probably do somewhere.
Yeah. Well, hey, you mentioned a second ago about the different types of insurance. I just wanted to get back to that. Like, since I don't have truck insurance, if I did have truck insurance or I needed it, can you bundle that in with like your home and auto and all that stuff and get a discount?
No.
It's totally separate because it's a business?
Yes.
Okay.
And I haven't found a single company that ever offered it. Most of the companies that do truck don't even do home and auto.
Okay.
So I've never had that opportunity. Now they might look at multi-policy, for example. If you have a truck, you might have garage keepers, you might have a warehouse, you might need an umbrella insurance policy. Everybody, that's a good thing. Everyone needs umbrella insurance. So what is an umbrella insurance policy? It covers you for most of the rest of the stuff that your insurance policy doesn't. Or if someone sues a person for more than they have coverage for. So let's say someone has $500,000 of liability coverage. Sounds like a lot of money, but then the lawyer jerk comes along and sues them for $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to pay that?
Right.
So that might be their umbrella policy for their home, and that might be the umbrella policy that they have for their trucking business.
Huh. Yeah, I never thought of that. I don't think I have that.
Let's say you're on the radio talking with a buddy, and you say some juicy piece of gossip about somebody, and the whole world hears it, and they sue you for libel and slander. Who's going to cover that? That's going to be covered by your umbrella insurance policy.
Yeah. Or just move to some island in the Pacific.
You don't want to do that. You just have the insurance. It's a few $100s a year and you move on.
Well, okay. All right. Do you want to cover the some common mistakes drivers make when getting insurance?
The bigger mistake is people who think they know what they need when they don't. One, and number two is when they lie, because even the agent doesn't know you're lying. We take your information at face value, but I'm telling you, the underwriters know.
Right.
And then the customer ends up on a blacklist.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of how like some drivers will try to lie when they get a trucking job. They'll try to just forget that they had that one ticket or whatever, or that one accident. And it's never, they show up in orientation and then a couple days later when they figure it out, they send them home. It just, right. It never, you can't hide that kind of stuff.
Well, then let's talk about that for another minute. It's really bad advice to not tell the complete truth to the agent so that the agent because the agent cannot best represent the customer to the insurance company without complete information. Sometimes the insurance company doesn't mind blemishes on a person's record, depending on what they are. For example, we talked about when drivers make mistakes, but then they're fired. So the underwriters will accept that explanation with some documentation to support it. Well, yeah, we had that guy working for us, and when he found out he was bad news, we got rid of him. But if you don't talk about it and you don't disclose it, then they say, oh, this person, in insurance is called loss of morale, and it means we don't believe in you anymore.
Oh.
Because what an underwriter is it's almost always a lady. Probably 80% of underwriters are ladies. It's a lady, and she's more of a mom than anything else, and she's interested in taking care of everyone she has to take care of. So she has to take care of the company because, they care for her, and she has to take care of you because you're the customer, and she has to take care of herself and her integrity and how she feels about her job. It's like a whole thing. Well, if she doesn't believe in you, she'll remember your name forever. And these ladies stay in the business for 30 years.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah.
Come here to Baltimore. I'll take you around. I will introduce you to these ladies. Invariably, they smoke. They're pleasant people,
Yeah.
But they will remember, like the memory of an elephant. Yeah. They will remember you. And every time your name comes up, or your address comes up, or your town comes up, or the name of your company, they will remember you. And so be honest. Just be honest up front. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. It will save you so much aggravation.
Okay. Well, All right. On that note, if you want to contact East Insurance Group to get a quote, what is the sort of information that a driver needs to get together? That way he's not giving you false information.
Well, be prepared to give me your DOT number, your MDOT number, your driver's license numbers and birth dates, your the address where. Oh, sorry guys, where you garage your truck matters. Where is it parked at night? They know. They check. Depending on the kind of trucking you do, whether you're doing short distance trucking or long distance trucking, people park their trucks at home at night or wherever they park them.
Yeah.
Sometimes neighborhoods where there are covenants, you can't park a truck on the streets. People will park on a service road nearby.
Yeah.
The insurance companies actually do send out investigators,
really?
and they look to photograph your truck. They want to make sure it's there, and they go and they'll check. We have a service road near my house where people with covenants end up parking their trucks. There's a ton of them there, and the investigators know where those spots are, so they know to go look for your truck. But then I had a guy. He was running a local trucking operation, and he had a radius of 400 miles on his policy, and he told us that he's based in Pennsylvania. Well, it turns out that he's based in New Jersey, which is a different state and has different because a lot of companies don't write from state to state.
Right.
I have to, if you're going through different states, I have to put you into a national carrier instead of a regional carrier. So I have to know. So he was lying. Okay, fine. But what happened was he got canceled midterm and he lost some contracts over it and he was mad at me. And I'm like, dude, you told me that you garage in Pennsylvania and here you are. They find your trucks in New Jersey. He's like, well, how do they know? They sent me the photos. I was able to show him, look, we have pictures of that's my sister's house. It's like, come on, you put your truck there every night. They check.
Yeah.
No one would believe they check, but they do check. So whatever you put just has to be true, and then it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll be darned. Yeah, I had no idea they would go that kind of, go out of their way that far to prove what you said. It makes sense, I guess. Like you say, it's a risk game, so they got to cover their butts. If
you're ever in a truck stop, or if you're ever in an area where trucks are parked and you see guys driving or ladies driving around in Ford Escapes or Ford Fusions, they are likely insurance company employees.
Really?
Because for some reason, like 90% of the industry drives Fords.
Okay. That's an interesting note. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So insurance is expensive. If, say, a new trucker got into the industry and he bought his truck and he's all pumped, but he's a little low on cash, which honestly you shouldn't be buying your own truck and starting a new trucking company if you're low on cash, but that's beside the point. But if you are, what do you say to the guy who thinks he's just going to squeak by for the first couple of months till he gets some money put together?
I would say stay off the road.
Okay. I would too, by the way. All right. Well, any other advice for him as far as getting the money together? Is there any other options or anything?
There are options. It's better to be a new guy in business with 10 years of driving history that you can demonstrate. Because sometimes we can get you approved as an existing trucking business, even if it's a new business. Because what's the big difference? I mean, so now you're getting your own jobs, but you're an experienced trucker with a good record.
I see. Okay.
But if you're new in business and you're a new trucker, I got a guy like that I'm working on right now up in New Jersey. Actually, I think he would call us from a satisfied client who's in Pennsylvania. So he does short distance runs, like from Pennsylvania to New Jersey and back. And he's moving dry goods in cardboard boxes. And he's got a box truck. So his premium, I want to say it's not expensive, but it is. It's like $11,500.
Wow.
So he needs half up front and then half in a month because he's a brand new business and the insurance company doesn't even know what to do with him.
Right.
They don't know if he's going to stay in business. They don't know if he's going to pay. They don't know if he's going to be a problem. So they want their money. He doesn't have it. So he's like, I'll go get an SBA loan. And, well, see, I don't think he's especially high risk. He sounds like he's going to be a responsible person.
Yeah, but he's an unknown quantity, right?
He's an unknown quantity. So I had no difficulty representing him to the underwriter, someone who struck me as being business savvy and responsible. But still, he's unknown. They have their rules. So, but we were able to get him something called premium financing. We don't make any money on it, but it let him come up with 25% down instead of 50% down, and then it spread his payments over 9 months. That was much better for him than having to give 2 payments up front in the first month.
Nice. Yeah, I had no idea that was an option. Of course, it's probably not in a regular home and auto insurance. But when you get something as expensive as truck insurance, I'm glad you said that, how much that guy's policy was, 11,500, I think you said.
Yeah.
Because I just, being a company driver all my life, I just really had no idea what kind of money these guys were paying for. Their,
guys pay tons
insurance.
of money. Guys pay tons of money. We get Amex charges $28,000 all the time. Here,
wow.
That'll be $28,000. Do you take Amex?
This goes to show for these new truckers who are coming into this industry, and they barely have any experience whatsoever, but they think they're going to run out and buy a truck. That's their goal. Well, fine. If that's your goal, do it, but do it later. Don't do it right off the bat when you don't know what you're doing. You have no idea the cost behind it. I mean, I've been driving for 20 years. I didn't know all the costs behind it. So, just be careful.
The thing is that when you're a new trucker, you're not just a person plying a trade of driving a truck. Now you're a business person.
Right.
And a business person has to think about things differently than a truck driver.
Right.
Because the business person has to think about customers, getting customers, keeping customers, collecting their money from customers, making sure that their customers can pay. A business person has to worry about compliance and regulations and keeping up with new regulations. A business person has to worry about insurance. Hopefully they'll call us at East Insurance Group. But these are all concerns that the owner of the trucking company, even if that person is also the driver, has to deal with. And it's really hard. I think you see a lot of husband and wife teams where the wife runs the office and the husband's out on the road. Sometimes we see it vice versa, where the husband's running the office and the wife's out on the road. But you got to think about it as a business. So then it's not just, I'll scrape by and get some jobs. It's like, you really need to have a commitment from companies that need your services before you go buy that truck. And I don't know whether to tell you to get a new truck or a used truck or whether to lease it or buy it. I could talk that through with anybody and give them my best advice. Because a lot of guys, then that's a separate part of the discussion. But a lot of guys are quick to get overhead, which is high truck payments, before they have income commitments to pay for it. And then they want to cut corners, like go out without insurance or, I don't know, pick whatever other corners they can cut. And it seems like it almost always comes back to bite them.
Yeah, that used to be a big thing in the industry where, it was just kind of known that you just needed to buy your truck cheap and pay it off quick and everything. But I think some of that's changing, where people are thinking that the leasing would be a better option. But that's a whole nother subject we don't really have time to get into. So we just won't go there.
But I will tell you that guys, and I think this is relevant to the insurance discussion, my customers who buy older trucks end up in rentals. And if you end up in a rental truck, you need to call me and let me know that the information on that truck so I can add it to your policy.
So when you get a rental truck, it's not just like when you're going to Hertz and they say, do you want the extra insurance? And you say yes. No. And with the truck, you have to specifically call your insurance agent and get that added.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, because the insurance underwriter will find out later on that when there's a claim, because there will inevitably be a claim, or there will be a safety violation, because guys, I don't really have experience so much with Hertz, but I just had a customer who took rent a truck for 3 weeks. They got stopped for the tires. Mm-hmm. They got a violation. They got a safer violation for the tires. I can't say the name of the company. The rent-a-truck company did not maintain the truck to code. And this guy took out a truck. Ostensibly, he's paying his $300 a day or whatever he's paying. He expects a truck that's fully compliant, and it's not.
Right.
And we need to know what trucks you're driving. We insurance agents, we need to know what trucks you're driving. If you're borrowing a buddy's truck, we need to know. It's never for 2 hours.
Right. Yeah. All this talking about all the different things going on here, I can totally see now what you're talking about, how you talk to a trucker who needs insurance far more than like you would your auto person.
Right.
It just seems like there's so many things that the trucker would just need to call. I mean, I think it just sounds like he needs to have insurance on his mind for whatever he's doing. And if there's something that's even remotely a question, just call. And, you guys,
just call.
Yeah, you guys are famous. Like in the ads I was saying, they got your cell phone number. So just call, you can probably answer the question in 5 seconds and be done with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just call. And there's no stupid questions.
Okay, that's what I've always.
Stupid question.
Okay, that's what I've always been told. I'm not sure. I do interviews now, so there might be some stupid questions. Anyway, okay. Well, I guess we've been going quite a bit, so I think we ought to cut this off here. Why don't you go ahead and give them your contact information? Would you rather be contacted by email or phone, or what's the best way to contact you?
Well, you're welcome to contact me and Mike. We're the truck specialists here, whichever way is convenient for you. So I'll give you our names, our cell phone numbers, and our email addresses.
Okay.
And welcome to use whatever you like. Text is fine. We also WhatsApp. So I'm David Meltzer, and my email is david@eastInsuranceGroup.com.
Okay.
And my cell phone number is 443-255-0697. And Mike Seidel is mike@eastInsuranceGroup.com. And his phone number is 443-629-4111. And we're both available most of the time. And if you leave a message, we'll call you back. And we try to be easy to work with. And we write insurance for people based in the following states. Unfortunately, we're not in every state, but we're happy to help you in the following states: Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Washington, D.C., New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Illinois, and Kansas.
And these states are where your truck is domiciled, right? Garaged?
Correct.
Okay, not where you run, but where you're based.
Where you park at night.
Okay. And not New Jersey.
No, we write we'll write you New Jersey, but you got to be in New Jersey.
Not Pennsylvania. Okay, I see the way that works. Okay.
Yeah, so New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, D.C., Ohio, Kansas, Illinois.
Okay.
And we are happy to help you in those states. And if you need help in another state and you need advice, you're welcome to call, and we'll do our best to get you the advice you need.
Okay. And all those links and all these links, phone numbers, everything will be in the show notes. And you can anybody interested in East Insurance Group in general can go to eastinsurancegroup.com/truckerdump and check that out. That'll show that you came from the site, and I would appreciate that to all you. Well, Dave, I thank you for coming on the show and explaining a little bit more about insurance. This kind of went a different way than I thought it was, but it was actually better than I was hoping it to be. So that's great.
Well, good. Thank you, Todd. Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody, for having me.
Now, see what I tell y'all. That wasn't a big sales pitch, was it? It's pretty awesome. I learned some things. I hope you did too. Appreciate Dave coming on the show and talking about insurance. Again, if you want to get a hold of them, it's eastinsurancegroup.com. And their main phone number, he gave you the other phone numbers, their personal ones, but their main phone number is 443-304-9927. And again, that's eastinsurancegroup.com/truckerdump.
Give us a bottle of your finest champagne, 5 shrimp cocktails, and some bread for my brother.
What's that?
Sushi.
Sushi?
Boy, some chicken wings have really hit the spot.
This is a tasty burger.
Don't play with your food, eat it.
It's time for Trucker Grub. Luckily, driver Chris Mack sent in another one because, well, nobody else did. Come on, man. Give me some Trucker Grub stuff. I know you guys got some good places you want to share with me and everyone else out there. Come on, get on it. Actually, I know one other person is going to share. I can't remember who it was, but he wrote me in an email and said he was going to do it. So whoever you were, I remember. And I'll find it again. So get her done. Anyway, Chris, take it away.
Hey, y'all. Driver Chris Mack back with you for another edition of Trucker Grub on Trucker Dump Podcast. Wasn't sure if I was going to include this one, but I asked Todd about it today, and he said it would be okay, since it wasn't your typical truck stop restaurant. And this one is actually located inside the Pilot, so you don't have to walk anywhere. It's in Grand Island, Nebraska. That's I-80 exit 312. It's called Max's Thunder Road Grill. They have excellent hot wings, burgers, pizza, steaks, and of course a full bar. with cold beer. However, I wouldn't recommend ordering the hot wings if you're a wuss like Todd McCann. I enjoyed them, but I'm not sure the rest of you would. So if you're stopping for the night in Grand Island, Nebraska, I would highly recommend this place. Like I said, though, make sure you're stopping for the night, like I always do. I don't believe in drinking and driving.
Well, that's good, Chris.
I already have some more places in mind for this segment, but that'll do it for this time. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. I have eaten at this place before, only it was before it was the Thunder Road Grill or whatever it's called. So I guess it wasn't actually the same place, but I've eaten in that restaurant before. I don't remember what I had, but I remember it being really good. It was really big and it was completely covered in white gravy, which, well, you can't really go wrong with that. So anyway, I'll be interested to go back into this place sometime and check it out. I haven't been out that way in a while. I hadn't stopped at that truck stop in a while. That is a big truck stop though. If you're ever out that way, check it out. Breaking news. All right. Not really breaking, not really all that exciting, but hey, I just got something finalized and I wanted to tell you about it. So I'm interjecting it somewhere in the podcast. Haven't decided where yet. Anyway, we now have Trucker Dump t-shirts available. Not just t-shirts, but hoodies, baseball jersey type shirts. It's one of these websites where you just, you can put your logo out there and they'll stick it on a whole bunch of different stuff. They've got, coffee mugs. They've got travel mugs. There's stickers. There's tote bags. There's even some baby clothes. Not that anyone is ever going to stick Trucker Dump on their kid. That would be actually kind of sad, but hey, I left them for sale anyway. You never know. There's some weirdos out there. So anyway, okay. Here's the deal. You'll find these at teepublic.com. That's TEE public.com. You can search for Trucker Dump. The shirt should show up, or my name, Todd McCann, 2 D's, 2 C's, and 2 N's. Or you can search for the name of my business, which honestly, I don't think I've ever mentioned on this podcast before. The name is Double Clutch Media. So you can search for that at teepublic.com. Or if you want the actual URL to go to, it's teepublic.com/user/doubleclutchmedia. And of course, this will be a link in the show notes in the podcast app. And also for those of you, I don't know where I'm putting this in the show, so I'm kind of doing some time traveling. I'm not sure if I've mentioned this yet or not, but for those of you who don't know, the show notes for the podcast are always at the bottom of the blog post on abouttruckdriving.com. So go to abouttruckdriving.com, type in the search box TD128, and that's what this episode is, and you'll find all the links there. One other thing I would like to mention is that TeePublic has a set way to do things. I don't control the prices, for instance. There are different levels of t-shirts, different, qualities of t-shirts, so you can pick what you can afford or don't buy any at all. I'm not going to retire on this money. Like I'm saying, they have a set price. They pay me a set commission. I cannot control that. I can't do anything about it. But there is one thing that's pretty cool, and that's kind of why it's breaking news, is that TeePublic runs a sale. As soon as you put up a new design, for the first 72 hours, it's everything with that logo or that design on it is 20% off. So I'm going to launch this design right before I release this podcast. So those of you who listen in the first 72 hours, which, you'll get a sale, but honestly, most people don't listen in the first 72 hours because, let's be honest, this podcast comes out so rarely, people just don't think to check, I don't think. Now, immediately if you subscribe, but if you're not subscribed, anyway, whatever. Like I said, I'm not going to get rich off this, so buy them at full price, buy them at 20% off, whatever, because they will have sales periodically. They just run a site-wide sale where everything is on sale. So like, for instance, a $20 t-shirt will be $14. So you can save some money that way. Now, here's one thing I'm actually going to do. Maybe you can save just a little bit more money. Something kind of fun I decided to do. You guys know how cheap I am. $20 is like $1 million. It might as well be like $1 million to me. So I have a fresh, crisp 20 that I stuck in the back of my wallet, and I am going to give it to the first person I see in public who is wearing a Trucker Dump t-shirt. So obviously the goal here is you should buy, 365 shirts. That way you can wear one each day. Okay. We're truckers. I'm sure you'll buy one and you can wear it every day. No, let's not do that either. That'll get gross. But anyway, the first person I see, I'm just going to walk up to him and say, "Hey, I'm Todd. Here's your $20. And can't wait to meet whoever that is. Anyway, that's only good for random sightings. That's not good for anybody that I'm meeting in person that I've connected with online, and we're going to be at the same truck stop. And then if they show up with a shirt, that doesn't count. So anyway, I will say that I had one other design that I was working on. I got the guys in the Slack group and the Facebook group to try to help me out a little bit. I asked them for some opinions. Nobody seemed super thrilled about it, but everybody was super nice. As a matter of fact, on the Facebook page, I saw it got like 19 views and no likes, which is kind of strange because the guys over there are pretty liberal with their likes. So when I didn't get any likes, I thought they hate it. But like I say, I'm always asking for solid criticism and honest opinions. You cannot hurt my feelings. You could tell me the show sucks and I'm fine with that. So, but I want honest opinions, and I often just don't get them because people think it's going to hurt my feelings. So what did I do? I called the evil overlord. What else would I do? If I'm going to get an honest opinion, it's going to come from her. And in the nicest way possible, she said, "That sucks." Well, she didn't say it just like that, but she did tell me it was pretty bad and I needed to go back to the drawing board. So that's what I have done. It's another design that I'll announce later on. I'll announce it on Slack. I'll announce it on Facebook, Twitter. So if you're not following me any of those places, you should be doing that. All the details how to do that will be at the end of the show like it always is. Or heck, maybe I've already said it. Like I said, I'm time traveling. I don't know where I am now. Anyway, and obviously I'll mention it on a future podcast. Duh. So anyway, I guess that's about it for now. I guess we can get back to our regularly scheduled program. Wait a second. There's nothing regularly scheduled about this program, ever. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. Let's get on with it. It's a dangerous world we live in nowadays. We see vehicle accidents every day. We hear stories of truckers getting mugged. And let's not forget that none of us are getting any younger. That's why you should check out the Escort Driver Emergency Response System from Citadel Fleet Safety. Basically, it's a key fob-sized device that you wear around your neck, on your wrist, or on a carabiner on your belt. And it'll give you hands-free two-way communication with the simple press of the button. And it's got GPS too, so that's cool. It works on the 3G network, so you'll get a signal pretty much everywhere. Once you press that button, it's immediately going to connect you to an emergency advisor at one of 3 of their call centers. They'll send whatever emergency service you need faster than Superman can strip down to a spandex. But don't take my word for it. It was the 26th of November and Tiff was heading out of her Springfield, Missouri terminal, heading towards Illinois. It wasn't too long before she witnessed a horrific 3-car accident on the opposite side of I-44. Soon after, other vehicles were pulling over to help, as there were children who had been thrown from the vehicle. She immediately pulled over to the shoulder and pressed the button on her Citadel Escort. Emergency vehicles were dispatched immediately, and Citadel even called her back to let her know that help was on the way. Tiff waited until the emergency help arrived, and then she went on with her trip. In her own words, quote, "I was very pleased with the prompt callback. I am happy I had this alarm fob because I'm sure I was the first to alert officials." Well, I bet you were too, Tiff. You see, this could be any one of us on any given day. I'm sure Tiff wasn't expecting this, but it happened. Or it could be a heart attack. Or you could slip and fall while you're doing your walk-around inspection. Or it could be some jerk trying to break into your truck. Or it could even be a personal attack. Heck, you don't want to be fumbling around with a gigantic cell phone when you're trying to punch your attacker in the junk, do you? I know I don't. So hey, why don't you head on over to citadelfleet.com and check out the Escort. Now the Escort usually retails for $29.95, but you, as an awesome Trucker Dump listener, you get the rate of just $22 per month. And that's not just an introductory rate, that's as long as you choose to own the device. So how cool is that? To claim that discount, head on over to citadelfleet.com. That's CITADELFLEET.com. Click on the customer login in the upper right-hand corner. Click on the Trucker Dump podcast logo and enter the password Trucker Dump, all lowercase, all one word. Or you can always call Citadel Fleet Safety at 800-269-5905. Tell them you heard about it on the Trucker Dump podcast. Thanks to Citadel Fleet Safety for sponsoring this episode of Trucker Dump. You know, I'm feeling pretty smug right now because I'm actually doing something timely. I'm actually getting to a blog post, a main topic that is actually relevant for something that's going to happen in the near future. It's perfect timing. So anyway, I'll just let the interview speak for itself. And by the way, I was using a new service for this interview. It's called Zencastr, and I was having some problems with it. It doesn't sound as good as everybody says it's supposed to sound, so I don't know if I know I didn't have a bad connection. I don't think Ben did either, but something was a little weird about it. It didn't help any because Ben was snowed in from all that snow he had up in Pennsylvania, and he left the good microphone that he actually bought for this interview at the office, and he was snowed in at his house. So he just had to use a pair of earbuds, but we both decided that it was best just to get this message out than to just have super, awesome quality. So I think it sounds pretty good, but you'll hear some little glitches here and there. Just don't be surprised. Yes, it bugged me as much as you think it bugged me. All right, let's get on with it. All right, we're here today with Ben Lee. He is the regional director for Make-A-Wish in the Susquehanna Valley. Did I say that right, Ben?
You sure did, Todd. Absolutely correct.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks for being on the show today to talk about the Mother's Day Truck Convoy. This is quite an event.
Well, this is quite an event, and as I like to narrate it, I usually describe it as the world's most positive expression of the truck driving industry.
I would say that is probably true considering the reputation of truckers. And I don't know how we get this reputation all the time, but it definitely suffers. That's for sure. This is a great thing to make us look better. So great.
Well, you're right. Oftentimes truckers go up and down the road and neighboring motorists will wave a hand out their window telling truck drivers they're number one.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a deserved reputation. I think the wise among us recognize that everything we have, it arrived via a truck driver. And I can tell you in Lancaster County and the neighboring counties here in central Pennsylvania, truck drivers are held in unique esteem and high appreciation because folks around here equate truck drivers with guys who are out there granting wishes for children with critical illness. And as a result, people have high respect for truck drivers around here.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was watching the video you sent me, and I will put a link in the show notes to that video. And man, there's a lot of people show up for this event.
Well, the numbers that we have estimate about 25,000 people come out and line the 26-mile convoy route to cheer on approximately 600 truck drivers and the 100-something Wish kids that get to ride shotgun in the cab. It's really remarkable.
Okay, so Ben, will you tell us what is the Mother's Day Truck Convoy and how it got started, what this Make-A-Wish thing is all about?
Well, Todd, you'll find that most people have some familiarity with the idea of what Make-A-Wish is. It's a national children's charity that has been in existence since 1980 when it granted, the organization was started by just a couple of folks who knew a remarkable young man named Chris who was tragically dying with a form of childhood cancer. And they wanted to allow Chris a chance to experience being an Arizona Highway Patrol officer before he died. And some amazing local folks came together and gave young Chris an opportunity to do that. A local news station picked up the story and talked about the opportunity of this young man to have a dying wish granted by some local volunteers. And people were so moved by what they saw that money started pouring in. And they said, look, if this was so meaningful to one kid and one family, we want other kids in a similarly medically vulnerable situation to have this amazing experience. So that was over 35 years ago. You fast forward to today, Make-A-Wish is in over 30 different countries. It operates in 62 different chapters that cover every square inch of the United States, and over 300,000 wishes have been granted for children with life-threatening medical conditions. It's an organization that is giant, it's massive, and it's entirely operated by people who believe that kids who have been dealt a really bad hand in life ought to have a little hope, strength, and joy in their life.
Yeah, man, that's great. And I had no idea that it was, I probably should have known this, but I had no idea it was worldwide. I kind of just thought it was a US-based thing, but nope, all around the world, huh?
Yeah, it's really cool. I was at a Make-A-Wish international gathering a couple of years ago, and I got a chance to talk with people from India, Australia, Japan, Norway, who operate Make-A-Wish chapters in their countries. It's really a remarkable movement that transcends even a national understanding. There's something common about the human experience of people who see children suffering and want to do something to help.
Okay. So how did this relate to the truck convoy? Did some kid have a desire to to ride in a truck?
You guessed it. That's exactly what happened. So all the way back in 1990, there was a young boy named Matt who had a life-threatening medical condition, and Matt's condition qualified him for a wish. And when our wish granters came to Matt and said, Matt, if you could wish for anything in the world, what do you want to wish for? Matt's answer was remarkably simple. He said, I want to sit in one of those big trucks and talk to my sister Heather on a CB radio. And it was amazingly simple.
Yeah.
And a call went out to the truck driving community in Lancaster County and said, who wants to help this young boy fulfill his wish? And that first year, 42 truck drivers came out. And Matt sat in the front truck. His sister Heather was in the back, and an impromptu convoy rolled around Lancaster County, and Matt's wish was granted.
I'll be darned. That is really super, super cool. And it's been going on. I guess it just grows a little bit each year. I heard you had a great year last year. What happened then?
Well, it did grow a little bit. These truck drivers had such a fun time the first year that they wanted to come back and do it again. So they said, well, look, let's cook up some chicken barbecue. Let's invite a few more kids to come out, and we'll have some clowns and some games. And people in the community started responding to it. And I think the next year they had 100 trucks, and the event just kept growing and growing. In 2003 and 2004 and in 2016, the event set a Guinness World Record for the world's longest truck convoy. And in the event's 28 years, more than $6 million has been raised, primarily from truck drivers, to all benefit Make-A-Wish, granting the wishes of children.
Holy smokes. Yeah. So let's get into the logistics a little bit about this. How exactly is that money raised?
Well, truck drivers are asked to pay a $100 registration fee, if you will. Okay. But the majority of our drivers see that as the starting line, not the finish. Okay. Truck drivers aren't interested in doing the minimum. They want to do as much as they can. And so truck drivers are encouraged to raise money, and these guys are in the community doing it as creatively as you could possibly imagine. They're holding Hawaiian luau's and bingo nights and backyard concerts and live auctions. There's little canisters at every gas station in the community of guys raising money. It's a tremendous effort. Last year, the truck drivers just last year raised $260,000 for Make-A-Wish, and they're the heroes of the day who deserve to be commended.
Wow. Okay. And so the rest of so anything on top of that is just given by local people to just help support because they really dig the event?
Absolutely. We have a number of corporate sponsors. We have a massive Convoy Carnival that takes place where the convoy begins at the Borough Business Park here in Lancaster. And there's live food, auction, clowns, games, all kinds of ways for the community to chip in some dollars and show their support. But as I mentioned, the highlight of the event takes place at 1:30 p.m. when about 600 trucks and trailers fire up and honk their horns. It is a deafening experience in that parking lot. And it is the most joyous, loud, chaotic mess you'll ever see. And I've got people that tell me, they're like, I was standing there and I started crying. And I don't even know why I was crying. There's no good reason for it, but there was something about the event that was so moving. It was so touching, seeing these guys who were out there raising money for kids. It just moved my heart. It was tremendous.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah. Now you mentioned that, there were 600 trucks. Do all these truckers, where do you stage 600 trucks? Let me give some of the truck drivers a reference here. Like if I'm not mistaken, the largest truck stop in America is on Iowa 80, and it holds about 900 trucks, a little bit over that. The Petro in Joplin, which is also fairly big, I think it holds about 400 if memory serves, about 400. So where do you put 600 trucks in Lancaster County? Because there's not any truck stops around there. You know?
No. We put them in the largest parking lot in Lancaster County.
Okay.
And that is the massive Borough Business Park, which is where our local offices are. And they have over 1 million square feet of office space. And they've got the parking lot, 3 different parking lots to handle it. It is a massive space. And they are a proud partner of the event by donating the space to us every year. Yeah, it's substantial.
Okay. So if a trucker wanted to get involved with this, can they come in the night before and sleep there overnight and prepare for the festivities the next day?
They can do that. We prefer that they pre-register before the festivities. They can go to the Convoy website, which is wishconvoy.org. wishconvoy.org. And Todd, I know you'll put all that in the show notes. Yep. People can pre-register is ideal. They can show up the morning of the event.
Okay.
We don't turn any truck drivers away because we know that a lot of guys like yourself don't know what the next day is going to hold. They can't plan out their schedule months in advance. So we'll always find room for somebody to show up even that morning. The highlight of the day that people love to see is we invite every year about 125 different Wish kids back to the event, and they ride in the cab of the truck with a truck driver, and they roll down the window and they wave out the truck and they get a honk the horn. And a lot of these guys have had the same Wish kid riding in their truck for years and years and years, and they build a relationship with these families, and the Wish kids are out there helping the driver raise money. It's a really beautiful, almost little mini family that forms, and a reunion takes place every Mother's Day. And that's one of my favorite aspects of the event, and it's really sweet to see.
Hey, yeah, and congratulations to these mothers who are willing to give up their special day to do something like this for the kids.
Yeah, you highlighted something that's really funny. People always say, what in the world does Mother's Day have to do with this big trucking event?
Right, yeah.
And there's really no good reason for it, honestly. It's just a coincidence that the event was founded on that day. But we have a lot of volunteers and truck drivers who can't be with their mom that day.
Yeah.
And mom is on the other side of the state or country. And so they participate in this event as a tribute to their mom. And they say, Mom, who may or may not even be living, I am here today doing something good in your name and your honor because I love you and you taught me right.
Yeah. Mom would be proud that not only is he doing something good, but that he's wearing clean underwear in case some accident happens. Right?
Yeah, you sound like your mom knows my mom.
I think all moms are kind of formed somehow, in the head. They telepathically communicate or something.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, so you mentioned Truckers Like Me. Truckers Like Me are a company driver. That got me wondering, I can't just go anywhere I want to go. I have to be sent somewhere. So, are most of these drivers that are participating, are they owner operators? And for the company drivers, is there any suggestion you could make, to get us there? For instance, I mean, if we were to approach our employer and just say, hey, we want to be there for Mother's Day, some of them might go, great, it looks good for our company, but others might go, yeah, tough noogies. So any suggestions on that?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head that a lot of our truck drivers are independent owner operators, and it's much easier for them to dictate their schedule. And, we have guys and girls. I need to make sure I'm giving a shout out to the many women drivers who participate in the convoy. We have a lot that come from approximately 12 to 15 different states every year from around the country. They travel in from all over to be a part. But we do have a number of company drivers who, exactly as you said, Todd, they go to their management and they say, look, I would love to represent who we are in this very public space. And I think the rest of our team would be proud to know that they're driving for a company that is willing to share a truck and share a driver around such a good event. And my job is to be able to help those guys bring some stories back to their management, to their company, to show the staff, hey, what a great company to work for that's willing to release a driver and a truck around such a good cause. Because I'll tell you, some of these, and Todd, you would know better than me, I've got drivers who will say, yeah, look, I paid the $100 registration fee, but what you don't know, Ben, is that it cost me $1,000 in fuel just to get here.
Yeah.
And I'm always humbled when I hear stuff like that, because that reminds me the extent to which these guys and gals are really making a sacrifice to support the event.
Yeah, there's the fuel, and then likely your company is not paying you to drive those miles, the convoy miles, and just they're probably not paying you to just hang around, and have some barbecue.
I know. I'm telling you, I didn't know anything about the truck driving industry.
Yeah,
I'm a nonprofit professional kind of guy. And when I came to Make-A-Wish and inherited this significant event, I learned a lot about the truck driving community. And now I go to Matt's every year in Louisville, and I'm talking the talk and hanging out with truck drivers. And it's a world that I have been adopted into, and I love it. Truck drivers tell you how they feel. There's no pretension. You don't have people putting on airs or acting some other way. Truck drivers are just real, honest, salt of the earth people. What you see is what you get, and I love them.
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah, I love that too.
And what you see is sometimes quite a sight to behold. You get some characters.
What? Are you saying there's characters? Truckers are characters? I would never.
I am.
Hey, oh yeah, I know. I encounter them almost every single day, it seems like. All right, Ben, this sounds like an awesome event. So if a trucker is interested in participating in this, where do they need to start?
Well, obviously, the simplest answer is by coming out, being one of our 500 to 600 truck drivers who drive the 26-mile convoy route. That's easy. And that's a remarkable way to experience the power of the event firsthand. And I'd love to meet your drivers. And if any of them come out for the first time and say, hey, I heard you on Todd's podcast, and that's what prompted me to come out, that would just thrill my heart to death. In addition, though, for a lot of your audience who may be listening from a distance and can't quite make it to Lancaster County, PA, this year on May 13th, we have our website, wishconvoy.org. Any driver could make a donation in support of any specific driver who's out there raising funds. They can make a general donation to the event. We would love it if your company was interested in sharing your company's name, associating yourself with this very positive expression of the truck driving industry. I handle all corporate sponsorships. Going online, reaching out, and just introducing yourself to us via email or phone and saying, hey, I'd like to help. I'd like to be a part of granting a child's wish. What do you recommend? Here's what I think I can do. And myself or my partner, Kathy, would love to have a conversation with you.
Okay. Is it too late to get in for this year? Because it's coming up here in a couple of months.
Absolutely not. We're still accepting corporate sponsorship. And as I mentioned, we love it when people pre-register. But if a driver shows up the morning of the event, we'll find space for you.
Okay. But you did talk about how a lot of truckers will do a lot of things in their spare time. So I'm assuming they need to sign up maybe for next year and then get started on that. How does that work?
Well, you mentioned something we hadn't really gotten to yet in this conversation, and that is there's one final aspect of the convoy. We have a very special row of trucks that lead the convoy, and we call them the top 30 drivers. And I'll tell you, these 600 drivers, many of them are competing throughout the year to raise funds to earn a spot in the distinguished top 30. These are the guys and a couple of girls every year who raised the most money and get a special bumper banner to put on their truck that shows what number they are and it has their name on it. This year, the number one guy raised just $20,000.
Wow.
If you can believe it. The number 30 truck driver, I think, raised about $2,400, and the remainder were somewhere in between. And if somebody wanted to get a head start on the 2019 convoy, which is the 30th convoy, and wanted to crack that prestigious top 30 row, you've got a little bit of time to get going.
Yeah. Sounds like they better get busy if they want $20,000. Woo. Yeah.
Well, that's the number one spot. Yeah. It's quite the award for sure.
Yeah. That's great though. Good. Kudos to whoever that driver was. Do you know his name by chance?
I do. His name is Keith Wagner, and Keith Wagner is actually a grandfather of a couple of different Wish kids himself, who his daughters have adopted into the family, kids with incredible medical conditions. One of them passed away in the last couple of years. Here's a man who has earned it, a Wish grandpa with children and grandkids with critical needs. And Keith Wagner, if you're listening to this, you're the hero the world deserves.
Amen. That's awesome. Way to go. So, okay, let's finish this up with something super fun. Tell us what your favorite Make-A-Wish story is.
All of our wishes fall typically into one of four categories. We call them I wish to go, I wish to be, I wish to meet, or I wish to have. And these are questions we give our wish kids to help them break that big question of if you could wish for anything in the world down to a bite-sized category. They can start processing as to what their one true wish might be. And we grant wishes of all kinds of kids who approach us with wishes to go, wishes to want to be a policeman or cupcake baker or Navy SEAL, a wish to have an item, or a wish to meet a celebrity. Probably one of my favorite stories of recent years is a girl named Michelle Ann, who was a high school senior who had some unique challenges in that she was in a wheelchair and was unable to speak. But otherwise, she was a remarkable young girl. One of the products of her physical limitations meant that it was hard for her to make friends. Just being in a wheelchair and not being able to speak, other young people had a hard time relating to her.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And so when our wish granters came to her, her wish was, I wish for friends. I just want to have friends in my life. And that broke our hearts, for a 17-year-old girl to wish that. So we also found out she's a huge country music fan. Brad Paisley's her favorite musician. So Todd, here's what we did. We worked with her school to put together a surprise assembly for her graduating class of about 400 other kids. And these kids filed into the auditorium, and we wheeled Michelle Ann up there on the stage in her wheelchair. And we had worked with Brad Paisley to record a special video that we played on the Jumbotron there of Brad Paisley, who said to everyone in attendance, but talking just to Michelle Ann, he said, "Hey guys, this is Brad Paisley here, and I'm talking to my friend Michelle Ann. I'm so glad that she invited me to be here with you today." And then he went on just to give a little talk about how when he was a kid, he had a hard time making friends and he was shy. And he encouraged everybody in the auditorium to go out of their way to find a friend, specifically at lunch, and make sure everybody sits with someone and nobody eats alone.
Yeah.
And as everybody applauded, it was a cool moment. And when the students were filing out of the auditorium, every kid got a gift bag with some food, some snacks, a little bit of trinkets in it. And in it was a note that said, "To my friends, at this school from your friend Michelle and Make-A-Wish. Now, the cool thing about that was the stories that followed. We were given stories in the weeks that followed that the kids in that class started changing their school schedule so that they could have lunch with Michelle Ann, and started filling up the table everywhere she sat in class or at lunch or after school. She was surrounded by a mob of people who made sure she was never alone. That next November, we got word that she was voted the homecoming queen of her graduating class.
That's awesome.
And it is, and why the reason I love that wish is because it involves all aspects of who Make-A-Wish is. We were able to loop in a fun celebrity. We were able to involve an entire class of teachers and students, numbering, all told, more than 1,000 people were involved. And this was not just a one-time experience. This wish ended up taking on a life of its own and changing Michelle Ann's life forever. And that's what we love about Make-A-Wish.
But you know what? It's not just, that's the thing about this. It's not just her life. It changed. Hopefully, it sounds like it changed a lot of her fellow students' lives, because, you know, they could have easily just, you know, became open quote friends with her for a little bit and then just gone back to the normal lives. But, you know, here a whole semester later or whatever, they nominate her homecoming queen. You know, maybe they learned a lesson about friendship too.
You said it better than I could. And what I have come to realize is that a wish is not just powerful and transformational for a child, but it's powerful and transformational for a community. And everyone on both sides of the wish, the giver and the recipient, benefit and are better for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. Ben, I appreciate you coming on the show today and talking about this awesome Mother's Day trucking event. If anybody is interested in this, I will have links in the show notes, and you should be interested in it. If you're not, you're dead or something. I don't know. You're dead and cold inside if you're not interested in this, right?
Well, come and see. If somebody is still a little uncertain, I would say come and see, check it out, and I promise you'll be sold.
All right, Ben. Well, thanks for stopping in.
Hey, thank you, Todd. It was a privilege to be invited onto the show. Again, my hope this year is that somebody walks up to me at the Convoy and says, hey, I heard your voice on Todd's podcast, and I came out to give it a shot as a result, and I'm glad I did. And Todd, if that happens, I'll be sure to give you a shout out and a thank you.
I would love that. I would love that. I would love that. All right. Take it easy, Ben.
Thank you, my friend.
Well, that was fun, and what a great cause. I appreciate Ben coming on the show and talking about the Mother's Day truck convoy. That's on Mother's Day, obviously. That's the 13th of May this year. If you can make it to it, that would be cool. I don't think I'm going to make it. I would like to, but I'm running into this problem, you know. I like to keep my myself anonymous as far as what company I work for, and if I show up in my truck and start talking to everybody, well, people are going to know. So I don't know how I can get around that. Anyway, I have gone over to the website and I've given a donation. I did talk to Ben about this, and it is a little confusing when you get over to the site. If you follow the link in the show notes, it will take you directly to the Truck Convoy page where you can donate. But when you click on the donate button, it makes you choose an option like, do you want to donate to a particular team or a fundraiser or a company? And I don't know what to do. He said just hit the team tab and type in make, and that'll bring up the Make-A-Wish office for Lancaster County, and you can just donate directly there. So if you do happen to go through a Google search to find this, it's pretty easy. It pops up real fast, and that seems to take you to a main page that you can just donate directly from there. But I honestly don't know if you make a donation through the regular old site, that if it will go towards the truck convoy numbers. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, follow the link in the show notes and then go team and then go make and hit search, and then you can donate right there. I just gave a little donation and I'm hoping y'all will too. It'd be awesome. Best way to find out more is the link in the show notes.
Hey, yo, bud, where do you want this load of feedback?
I don't care what you do with this feedback. I'm freezing. It got cold in here over the course of this recording. Okay, I actually do care about, but man, I am freezing. Oh, so let's get on with this and hope my teeth don't start chattering. Well, I guess since Aaron and driver Chris Mack have been confiscating my entire show lately, I guess we'll just keep with that theme. Aaron writes in, he had listened to the one about the trucker seat phenomenon, which was Trucker Dump number 93. That was about, I wonder why drivers sit in the front seat and look out their windows all the time when they have a nice comfortable bunk to sit on or whatever. He actually wrote in before saying that one of the reasons he sits up front is so he can watch and make sure nobody hits his truck. He's a rookie, so he's worried about that. Eventually, you'll get over that, Aaron. But he also sent in this other thing where he says, you know, another reason I sit up front is to keep Trucker Path updated while I goof off on the phone. Okay, I get goofing off on the phone. Not sure why you don't do it in the back or in a more comfortable seat. But the Trucker Path thing, that's very dedicated. You know, once I pull into a place, I will enter it and then I'm done. I'm not going to enter anymore. That's just me. You could do what you want there, Aaron, as you're going to do anyway. You're a grown man. So anyway, we've also been talking about CR England quite a bit lately in their training program and everything. And he wrote in an email that just says, I can confirm that they have 6-month trainers there and they have forced teaming. He also says, I don't work for CR England. So he must have inside knowledge or know somebody who does. Anyway, this whole 6-month training thing, or I'm sorry, it's not 6-month training. That'd be great. This is actually where CR England and other companies are asking people with 6 months of experience to start training other drivers. I still find that mind-boggling. Can't believe it. Thankfully, Aaron passed on it, you know. He actually wrote something in Slack that was pretty funny about this. He says, hey, my company was asking me and others that he knew to start training at 3 months. And he was like, hey, maybe I should wait until I can park in less than 10 minutes. Yeah, that's a good point. Can't really teach other people to drive if you aren't doing so well yourself. He goes on and says, besides all that, I didn't know I was going to have to team until the recruiter dropped the bomb after all the arrangements for school were made and I was fully committed. So when they were like, you should train, I'm like, no more strangers in the cab, thanks. He says he couldn't get solo fast enough. But you know, that whole forced team training thing, we had something like that at our first school with the Evil Overlord and I. Now, luckily, I've mentioned this before, but luckily, because we were both working at the same company and they put 2 drivers together, they just put us together. So basically, we got a jump start. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad plan. It does suck to get in another truck with some stranger that you have no idea anything about them. It's a little weird, I'm sure, but I can also see the benefits of it. You know, it's so nice to have an extra pair of eyes when you're out on the road for the first little bit. And if they can team you up with another driver who's in the same boat as you, then hey, maybe that's not such a bad thing. It sucks, but it's probably not such a bad thing. Anyway, thanks, Aaron, for always being active in everything I do, apparently. I'm just messing with you, man. I appreciate you being in the Trucker Dump Slack team and always talking in there. It's great. Next up, Greg wrote back in. No audio comment this time, but that's okay. He also has some information on England, but first he wanted to comment on the my overweight axle debacle thing. What podcast was that? Trucker Dump 124. Of course, there'll be a link in the show notes. He says, on the axle debacle, I got this soup sandwich from a driver who managed to blow up his regen system at the TA in Fort Bridger, Wyoming. I got tasked with delivering it to Ontario, California. This scale ticket is in the hole for California. He loaded in Minnesota, waited until he got to Sioux City to scale it. He says, I guess there's no scales in the Minneapolis area. Now, you speculate how I got past the new Super Coupe on I-15 south of Prim. Well, Greg, I don't know. I haven't been out there in ages. I looked at the map, and it looks like you would just have to take US 95 south out of Vegas and then take Highway 164 back over to I-15. Is that the way you did it? I didn't see any other way unless you want to go off-roading. But anyway, I thought I'd play along with you there, and you write me back and let me know how you did, how you got around it. And also, as far as the scales go, I know there's scales in Minnesota. I'm a little confused at the routing, honestly. If he's going to Ontario, California, what's he doing in Fort Bridger, Wyoming? I'm just confused. It doesn't seem like the right route to me, but I digress. I'll just leave that alone. Anyway, I did have to ask what he meant by soup sandwich because I didn't get the reference. I didn't get it. And he did write me back to say that soup sandwich, have you ever tried to put soup on a bread and eat it? It's messy, hence soup sandwich. Oh, I get it. Okay, so he inherited this mess of a load with the weight ticket and everything. I get it. I'm slow, but I get it. Okay. Anyway, here is what he has to say about CR England. He just says he got his start at the Salt Lake City Crash and Roll Academy in 1999. That's where CR England is based, by the way, for those of you who don't know. He says, I paid for my training up front, no financing. I left after about 4 months due to pay issues as well. Oh, that stinks. But here are his acronyms. You know, we all have these acronyms for like SWIFT, you know, sure wish I had a fast truck. Sure wish I'd finished training, stuff like that. Well, I guess CR England's got them too. So he says it stands for Crash and Roll. Every new graduate leaves a new dent. Wow. Or if you just want to go with England, just leave off the CR. It's every new graduate lasts about 90 days. These things are so creative. I just love them. I mean, I do kind of hate to dog on a company because I do think these kind of companies have their place in this trucking industry, but it's just hard not to make fun of them. Back in the day, it used to be JB Hunt we all used to make fun of, and they're a very reputable company now, even though I can't say reputable. But, you know, it's just fun. That's funny no matter how you slice it. So thanks for that, Greg. I appreciate it. By the way, he also mentioned something kind of funny that his wife refers to herself as QBU, which is a reference from the Abyss movie. Now, I tried to look this up on IMDb. I tried to look it up by Google. I couldn't find anything, and I haven't seen The Abyss in a long time. I do own the movie. It's a great movie. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think QBU stands for Queen Bitch of the Universe. I think. Pardon the French there, people. But you get what I'm doing here. Let me know if that's right, Greg. All right, now everyone else wants to talk about Trucker Dump 125, which was called Reserve Truck Parking, Convenience or Exploitation. First, we're going to hear from the best trucker alive. That's what he calls himself on Twitter, which I think is fabulous. I'm sure it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it's hilarious nonetheless. And he says, convenience or exploitation? Convenience. That is when you negotiate a week's worth of parking into every load negotiation. Well, that's an original way to deal with it. Just get somebody else to pay for it. Hey, that's kind of nice for a change of pace. You know, everybody always passes everything down to the next person. Why can't a trucker do it? That's awesome. The best trucker alive. I really think that's great. Way to stick it to the man. And friend of the show, Mr. Steve, wrote in and said, at least the whole parking lot is not paid to park. Welcome to the freemium market. Now everything is pay to win. He says, I'm waiting for the government to have their own e-log system where you can pay to drive over your 11 or 14. Well, that would be awesome. Depending on how much it costs, I'm in. I could drive more than 11 hours every single day. Thanks for writing in, Steven. Next up, Jeff heard that article. Jeff is in the Facebook group, by the way. I think he's in the Facebook group. Yes, I'm positive he's in the Facebook group. Anyway, thanks for writing in, Jeff. He wants to correct me because, hey, who doesn't want to correct me, right? He writes, hey, Todd, I'm sure someone has already told you that you don't need a 10-hour break after the 8. Just take the last 2. Well, Jeff, actually, nobody pointed that out. So either they're just not listening to what I say and you're the only one who actually heard it, but you are exactly right. I totally boned that one. By the way, I have gone back into that blog post and fixed that. There's a link in the show notes. You'll see some strike throughs there and some corrections. And I even give Jeff credit for it. So great. He says, also with the paid reserve parking, if you paid for a spot and get there to find that every spot is full, they won't refund your money. Also, even if someone who hasn't paid is parked there, the manager is powerless to enforce it, as they won't or possibly can't have the offender towed. So just park in the spot and the most they'll do is annoy you. Okay. He finishes always, anyways, hammer down. Okay, Jeff, that's just uncool parking in a spot just because they won't make you move. That's why Bob had to move. That's why Bob had to get a refund and move down the road the other day. Old Trucker Bob. We talked about that in the last podcast. So actually, he actually did get a refund when somebody was in the spot. So, I guess it just kind of varies location to location, which again is just screwy. This whole freaking thing is just screwy. Nobody seems to know what they're doing. Nobody seems to know what the laws are and what they can actually do and what they can't do. It's just insane. They just need to drop the whole stinking thing. And speaking of Trucker Bob, we're going to finish up with him. He was writing in about Connor Smith from the Big Rig Banter podcast who wrote an article, and he thought that was a good article. Just wanted to write in and say that. And he thought Shannon's little blurb was funny. That's where Shannon had to tell me how awesome I was because he lost a bet. Because he's a loser. And he liked the burp in my blooper reel also. Yeah, that was a weird one. I don't know where that one came from. I don't normally burp while I'm podcasting, but hey, there it was. He says, I pay reserve parking at least 3 nights a week, and I love it. That may be because my company reimburses me for it. And he finished this up, says, good work on this year's annual Trucker Dump episode, Todd. Man, everybody digs me on this. But I love it. It's all in good fun. I know who Bob works for, but I'm not going to say because I have a sneaking suspicion that his company reimburses him, but not the rest of the drivers. And that's because Bob has 30 years, I think 25 or 30 years in with this company. I think it's 25 actually. And they treat him really well. He gets to kind of say where he likes to go and everything. And he just has a pretty good situation where he's at. And I don't want to run it for him by having every other driver on that works for this same company being pissed at him. But I'm going to be asking some of these drivers to see if they get their truck parking paid for, because I think he's getting a special privilege there. But either way, I'd love it too if I could do that. Of course, I might get fat and lazy by parking that close all the time, but hey, Trucker Bob's not fat and lazy, so maybe I'll be all right. Anyway, I appreciate everybody leaving their comments, leaving their thoughts. I want more comments, more trucker grubs. Like I say, driver Chris Max got some more on the way. You don't want to just hear from him all the time, do you? I mean, it's great that he's sending these in, but we want to hear from more than one person. Trucker Bob's going to be sending in a couple of more, but we want to hear some new voices, so get on it. Well, I guess that's about going to wrap things up for this episode. Appreciate y'all listening. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Citadel Fleet Safety with the little escort unit, which is handy dandy. You can learn more at citadelfleet.com or the phone number's 1-800-269-5905. And East Insurance Group. Thanks to Dave for coming on the show and talk about it. That's eastinsurancegroup.com/truckerdump. That's 443-304-9927. Links in the show notes to both of these fine sponsors. Let's get out of here before I freeze my gonads off. So, are you planning on participating in the Mother's Day Truck Convoy this year? Or have you attended in the past? Write in to tell us about it by emailing me at truckerdump@gmail.com or by going to abouttruckdriving.com and searching for TD128 and leaving a comment there. Or catch me on Twitter where I'm at Todd McCann. Yep, that's 2 Ds, 2 C's, and 2 N's. Or better yet, join the Trucker Dump Slack group by emailing me, or join the Trucker Dump Facebook group by searching for that exact term over there. And remember to tell all your friends how awesome podcasts are in general. Not just mine, because it's not. So again, thanks for listening, everyone. So until next time, drive safe, stay out of my way. Trucker Dump, episode 128. Hey, in today's show, I got some cool ideas. I don't have some cool ideas. I don't know what I have. Ugh. Okay, Ben, this sounds like an awesome... Yeah, tripping all over myself. This will make the blooper reel. They always... I say them.
Yep. I have a lot of bloopers in my life.
All right. Like you say, technology, good times.
I mean, I drove a U-Haul once. That was upsetting enough.
Oh, truckers, we hate our U-Hauls. I can tell you that the people in them, they don't know how to drive, and it's just awful.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. I can't believe that they trusted me with it.
But, you know, as typical, like I'm always saying, I'm always asking for solid, constructive criticism. In Trucker Grub, driver Chris MC is back to tell us another cool place. In Trucker Grub, driver Chris MC. In Trucker Grub, driver Chris Mack tells us another. In Trucker Grub, driver Chris Mack tells us about another cool spot. In Trucker Grub, driver. No. I hate you right now, Chris. So, what's your phone number?
I don't give my phone number out to strangers. This guy on this computer is asking me for my phone number.
Uh-huh. Some weird freak.
Weirdo.
Okay.